All right, but moving forward through Raw, the rest of the things involving CM Punk and whatnot, definitely some interesting stuff. We had a segment. It was announced that Mr. McMahon was going to be on Raw. He was going to give a state of the WWE address, which didn't necessarily happen because CM Punk came out and interrupted. Um, this was a great segment. I mean, any time Mr. McMahon is on TV, I'm already interested, especially when CM Punk came out. And this was a another good way of CM Punk, just another new guy to for CM Punk to promo on. And he said how he's been getting slapped in the face for years by Vince McMahon. And he got under Vince's skin. They got under each other's skin. But this is a great segment. Vince, as always, on top of his game, and CM Punk is always on top of his game against the boss, against the chairman. Um, this was definitely a great segment. Much much better than the opening promo. Um, this, I mean, had this not been used early on the show, this could have easily, had they not had other plans, this could have easily worked at the end of the show, um, which is cool, I think, but it didn't because CM Punk ended up slapping Vince McMahon on the face. Vince McMahon falls to the ground, and CM Punk walks out, confident, um, and Vince McMahon is angry. He is ticked off by this, and then he challenges CM Punk to a match later on in the in the main event of this episode of Raw, um, which will bring me to that. Another, didn't know Vince McMahon would be on, um, let alone that it would be that great of a segment. I mean, I knew it was any Vince promo was good, but that one was with CM Punk was great. Um, and little did we know that Vince McMahon was going to step in the ring against CM Punk, the WWE champion, um, on this night of Raw. Another curveball you just didn't see coming. And now how the match went, was exceeded my expectations as well. Um, you know, this match began with CM Punk. Well, the match, I don't even know if it didn't even seem to technically begin. This was more like a brawl that never even became a match. This was just an all-out brawl. Um, CM Punk attacks Vince from behind. He in the in the early going, he has control of Vince McMahon. He's terrorizing him just like everyone thought he would. I'm sure. Um, but Vince was fighting back, and Vince was for real. He was, there was a little bit of blood, on Vince, which is interesting. The chairman here, you know, in his senior citizen age, as CM Punk was saying earlier in the night. Um, but this wasn't to mean that he should take, from what we were watching, that Vince should be taken lightly. Um, you know, Clearly Vince is still lifting weights, um, and Vince just looked legitimately mad. He was, you know, CM Punk was, appearing to about to put him away, with like a GTS on the announce table, perhaps. But then Vince actually counters, pushes CM Punk in the pole, and Vince starts gaining control here. He throws CM Punk over the announce table, um, and then Vince McMahon literally just dives and slides across the announce table like like a baseball player, sliding for home plate. Um, yeah, I mean, this was Vince, at his age, really doing some pretty cool stuff that you just didn't see coming. He's beating CM Punk with the mic. He's brutalizing him. He pulls out a endo stick and he starts, he wants to pulverize CM Punk, you know, the WWE champion, the champion, the WWE champion of his corporation, his business. Um, so I mean, this was just great. And then CM Punk was outside the ring. CM Punk, he couldn't really find a way in. Um, but CM Punk wanted his championship belt handed to him, and Paul Heyman was gonna hand it to him until Vince McMahon got out of the ring and was threatening, to hit Paul Heyman, um, and and he did, not with the kendo stick, but he did put Heyman on the ground. He picked up the WWE Championship and took it in the ring along with his kendo stick. And at this point, CM Punk had no choice. He had to get in the ring. He had to get his hands on Vince McMahon, um, which was difficult for him to find a way back into the ring. But eventually he did. He got a kendo stick as well, and they were just having like this kendo stick fight. They were hitting each other, but it appeared in this little, kendo stick fight, Vince McMahon seemed to have the upper hand. It was like a kind of like a, sword fight in a way. Vince McMahon got CM Punk on the ground. CM Punk, did no longer had his kendo stick in his hand. CM Punk is appearing to beg for mercy. When I'm thinking he's got a trick up his sleeve, I wouldn't totally, Of course, this is all acting, but this is CM Punk acting while he's acting. I mean, so it puts a rather interesting curveball on things here. Um, Vince McMahon goes in for this, kill shot with the kendo stick. CM Punk goes low, hits Vince with a low blow, and starts getting the upper hand here. Starts, he gets him up in position for the GTS, but then this is where Ryback's music hits, which you thought would happen. After squashing, two guys like we've seen before, in the past, rather handedly, Ryback comes out now and wants to, he scares CM Punk out of the ring. CM Punk gets out of the ring, and then from behind, John Cena comes out, and drags CM Punk into the ring, CM Punk into the ring, and Ryback nails CM Punk with a clothesline, and or was it a boot? I'm not. I don't. I think it was a clothesline. Might be thinking of something else, but and he puts him up in position for the shell shock, but CM Punk, just before you thought he was actually going to nail him in the shell shock, CM Punk slides out of the ring and quick runs and escapes with his championship out of the ring, through the crowd, up one of the stairwells in the arena, and Vince McMahon recovers and tells CM Punk how I hope you learned a lesson, kind of thing, and he leaves CM Punk with a decision, a rather interesting decision on whether to that he's either got to face Ryback or he's either got to face John Cena at Hell in a Cell, which definitely story-wise puts a rather interesting curveball here, on what's going on here. That's basically that. Great segment, great couple segments with Vince and CM Punk there. And of course that other, the match, the main event, was a, it was a good way to not have Vince McMahon get totally brutalized. Um, Not a way to have CM Punk look, very bad or, get embarrassed. And it was also a way to get um, Ryback involved, and to a less, a smaller extent, John Cena. This was a great, definitely one of the best endings to Raw um, this year. It's definitely up there. Um, Amongst other segments involving Brock Lesnar, The Rock, along those lines. This was great. Great ending. And again, it left an interesting decision for CM Punk, which I think next week we're gonna um, hear more about. Um, Personally, though, this decision, as much as you can criticize Cena. Um, Cena should face CM Punk at Hell in a Cell as long as he's healthy. Um, Simply because there was unfinished business. Clearly, they had a draw at Night of Champions. Cena lost because he kind of beat himself in a way when he thought he had CM Punk beat. He kind of also beat himself. He didn't, um, but also CM Punk needs a clean victory against John Cena in a big match like this, Hell in a Cell. Um, where there's no one no cheap distractions or no cheap interferences or no controversial pinfalls or submission holds or any of that. Let's get CM Punk a clean victory here, albeit in a match where weapons and use of the cell are legal. But nevertheless, let's get CM Punk, a decisive victory here. Not saying he has to squash John Cena, but let's have CM Punk get a legitimate victory here against John Cena for once. It's simple as that. Um, that's my thought on that. Also, Ryback, as much as potential as he has, let's face it. I mean, he hasn't really been in any, you know, big deal match yet. Um, so I mean, I think we need to see him in, against a couple bigger dogs before he gets a WWE Championship match. Before he's doing this main event match that could be a half hour long or longer in a cell. Um, I personally I want to see him feud against the Big Show, um, and perhaps a couple other you know heels that are up there on the card more than Tensei and Miz at this point. I think he should have a couple feuds with guys like those before um, they have him in face the WWE champion with his streak also going on the line. I've no problem with them involving Ryback in this right now. No problem with them teasing um, this feud. And if he does happen to get chosen to face or CM Punk over instead of John Cena, um, I would have no problem with that. Um, I mean, I'd still enjoy the match, but I just from the standpoint of Ryback's career, from a storyline standpoint, I just think I think it's best for Cena to face CM Punk, um, and get hopefully CM Punk getting a decisive win against John Cena. It's as simple as that. Um, I mean, Ryback, he's been under the Ryback gimmick. He's been built up for a good half year now. Um, you know, it's they have time with him though. They can, they can have him in some other, relatively bigger matches before they get him in the WWE Championship picture. Um, I mean, Big Show, an ideal opponent to me, um, especially in like a tables match or something where, if he could get him up for his his finisher, if they modify it, tweak it, that he could get him up, perhaps easier. Um, if he did have legitimate trouble, the one last week on Raw getting Tensei up, that was a little controversial. Um, you know, put Big Show through a table. That would be a cool moment. I think that could elevate Ryback and really make him look like a threat for the WWE Championship. Something like that, I think, would make putting him in the WWE Championship picture make more sense. So I'm hoping they'll do something along those lines first before they actually have Ryback go for the WWE Championship for real. So that's my thoughts on that. And yeah, I mean, we'll see how the Cena recovery goes. See if he recovers in time for Hell in a Cell. See if he recovers, in time for for the show I'm gonna see, which again is only a week after, only 8 days after the one I was talking about. But my advice for anyone would be not to, again, just watch WWE for the program it is. There's gonna be people who are, there's gonna be talent that is a bigger deal than others, but um, I think there should be an open mind towards everyone. There should be, it should be a little more democratic than, you know, having them, offer refunds because of one guy. Um, I mean, to me, it's, I mean,
I'm not your ordinary everyday fool, okay?
Just had to get a little more Clark Griswold out of our system there. Chevy Chase celebrating his birthday today. But again, in all seriousness, I think if you're a real WWE fan, you would. I think you should spread the word that WWE should not be, whether people get a refund for a show, whether they just totally forget attending a show and just get a refund simply because one guy is missing. Um, I don't think that is fair to the rest of the roster, especially guys like CM Punk and, other hardworking guys who, are, still work their tail off um, and just don't have everything entirely in their favor to be as popular as Cena. But that's not, to me, that's not what it's about. It's about great content, which is, to me, is why a guy like CM Punk is better than John Cena at this as it stands now. I don't care how many T-shirts you sell. I don't care if you have a T-shirt at all. If you come out there, CM Punk as at times lately has come out in a plain gray sweatshirt. Looks like the one Rocky wore, Sylvester Stallone wore in the first Rocky movie, running down the streets. If you can come out and you can do a good heel promo and face or heel, if you can do cut a good promo, if you can keep refining your promos, you can keep refining the wrestler you are in the ring, not be stale, not be predictable. Whether you're a face or a heel, um, that's great. I mean, you don't have to be this passive aggressive character, you know, looks for reactions all the time. Yeah, that's great. You don't need this chain of moves that is constantly in reuse, and really makes matches predictable looking and choreographed like like crazy. Um, that's just kind of some of the things I ask for. And I respect John Cena, eh, you know, and I want, you know, for what's best for him, the person, um, and what's best for the program. And a lot of what happens with John Cena, a lot of things they do with John Cena, and just I think Cena has become so settled in with his character that his manner, you can see clear change, mannerisms over the years. He has, he's really, if you look back in the day, his mannerisms can be very different. Um, as if, they just became, as if they just, that's who he became. Um, you know, the way he runs the ring, stuff like that. I don't want to go on this big tangent, about criticizing, but again, at the end of the day, um, I I pay my I want to go see WWE not for one man. Um, sure, there are some guys that are going to show up like Brodus Clay that I'm really not going to care for and would, unless they actually do something or involved in something, more legitimate looking and more serious than coming out and doing this dance in the ring with, you know, these two girls who absolutely exaggerate their movements. But again, in conclusion, at the end of the day, I want to see the WWE shine. Not one person. I don't, I'm not this guy that wants to see such and such win every match, um, you know, come out, get a title shot every pay-per-view, whatnot. I just want to see, um, WWE at its best. And I think tonight on Raw, what we saw with Vince McMahon and CM Punk, the fact that you can pull Vince McMahon, um, from out of nowhere, or Vince McMahon can pull himself, if you will, um, and him and CM Punk can do what they did tonight, with Ryback also chiming in a little bit, um, with JR, JBL, and Michael Cole, putting quite some good commentary together. That's great. That's what things that are entertaining like that. That's what I want to see more often. I don't care who it involves, as long as they pull it off. Um, as long as they pull stuff off like that. And Vince McMahon's a guy that I can always trust to do that. CM Punk's a guy that I can always trust to do that. Ryback to me is becoming a guy that I can trust can do that, at least with fighting and brawling matches. Yet to see some real good promoing from him yet, but that'll come. Again, that's just my take on a lot of what's transpiring here in the WWE. You know, there's a lot going on here. Um, and this episode of Raw was definitely an improvement over last week's, which seemed to be pretty thin. Um, but you know, this was definitely an addition to W Wrestling Talk that I couldn't wait to get to, because there was some big stuff that I wanted to talk about, and obviously this edition did stretch on pretty long, which is why it's definitely broken up into more than one piece here. Um, but that's that's just how it is sometimes. Sometimes there's a lot to talk about, and that's not a bad thing. Um, as long as, except for maybe, the whole Cena refund thing. But sometimes you gotta talk, sometimes it's worth talking about that stuff. Alright, that's gonna wrap it up for this long edition of TWS and Talk. I thank you for if you stuck around, watched the whole thing, both, all parts, thanks for watching it. It's, just if you watched any of it, just thanks for watching it, and I appreciate the support. Um, I'd like to hear from you. Any questions, any comments? Please, don't be afraid to send in. anything you want me to talk about, don't be a friend to request that. Um, it's something I definitely encourage, and I definitely encourage subscribing and future viewership. Um, so thanks for that, and stay tuned for next edition of TW Wrestling Talk.